Okay, well, let's start at 6:30. And we'll start with, let's see, call to order. Approval of minutes from January. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I just have a
In a sec.
question.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't know if you knew I was here yet.
yes,
Hi,
I saw you.
Joanne.
That's why I started.
Hello. Hey, regarding the minutes, I noticed that in quite a few places there's a double star, as if that's a footnote,
Oh,
and I wondered why. At first I thought they were quotation marks, but then I just wasn't sure what the double star meant. If it was some meaning to the secretary's notes, or were they supposed to be a direct quote?
Joanne,
Yeah.
those are just indicating somebody specific speaking, and it's not a direct quote. Otherwise, it would be in quotes. But it just, somebody giving a direct conversation thought.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. That's usually shows in the minutes when somebody will mention something, but I've never seen it with stars. So it almost looked like a footnote. And then when you go to the second page, the footnote is referring to that these minutes haven't been approved yet. So that's the only thing. It must be a different way of doing minutes, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's just typically how I've done mine across various different committees.
Gotcha. Okay, then now I know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
yeah. All right, so we have a motion to accept, waiting for a second.
I will. Joanne will.
Okay, Joanne, well, do we have any other discussion on the minutes? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Wave or something? Any opposed? Okay, we have accepted the minutes. I did not get a financial report yet.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
That's why I didn't forget. So when I do get it, I'll pass it on to the group over email.
Thank you.
Just regarding the budget, you know how I was a little bit confused last time why the train wreck park money didn't show as deducted? I know why, because I never got invoiced for the second half of the signs. And I think this happened before when I worked with Graphics Unlimited. They just assume that the first invoice stands for both. So I actually have to pay that money out. So that will be adjusted in the next budget report you see.
Okay, thanks, Tara. Okay, as far as chairman, we've been, doing some more stuff off, kind of out of sight here, working with TBA, Thompson Rec. We finally did get that little event for the seniors off after being postponed twice. We did that last Friday. We are still working on the collaborative for June 25th, which will have food trucks and business expo and music, and Dan and I are going to meet with Brian Levency next week to try to get something more solid. And I started a sign up from TBA while Dan was away at a builders convention to try to get some action for businesses to set up. And we had our last branding subcommittee meeting at the beginning of this month because we're at a point where a lot of the basic stuff, the short-term stuff has been done, and it's a lot of repeat stuff between the two committees. So we're just folding it all back in, at least for the time being, into EDC. And that's all I have until later on.
Brian, may I make a suggestion that at least we make a commitment to an annual review? I understand that having meetings for the sake of having meetings is stupid. But I also think that the job of the branding committee isn't quite finished. We still have a lot of things that are stretched out, and we want to not let them, don't want to fall asleep on them.
Well, you're right, but remember that the branding committee was just a subcommittee of EDC, so they won't get dropped. A lot of the members were on both. There's just no need for a monthly update meeting when the updates are the same at both meetings. If there's ever a need to break, well, if there's ever a need to break off again, we can do that anyway, but the items won't get dropped. You know, there's still some.
I guess
long-term
I'm not being clear. I want a commitment that we're going to come back and say, well, where are we on 65 Main Street? You know?
Yes, but that's part of EDC. It doesn't have to be a separate branding committee. Because branding committee is part of EDC.
It is, and most of its members are EDC commissioners.
Things like 65 Main, it's on our monthly agenda. Like I said, there's no need for a separate meeting. We'll be updating 3DC, and we would break.
And
off
I agree with you. I agree with you. There's no need for a separate monthly meeting. But make a commitment that we're going to come back and review this every 6 months or once a year. We're going to come back and review.
Yeah.
What's our annual meeting? What's our annual meeting for the EDC, for the election of officers? Put it in the bylaws. We're going to look at the long-term goals as were outlined by the branding committee. We're going to continue to look for people to be on the branding committee.
Well, no.
It's merchants and business people. A way to bring them in.
Charlie, what Yacino is saying is that the work of the branding committee will be pursued regularly by this.
And you're not
commission.
hearing what I'm saying. You know what? It's not as important as the two of you have made it.
Anyway, we'll continue to follow up. Yeah, because we have long-term goals, and there was a lot of stuff on our branding charter that we haven't reached yet. Anyway, update on businesses in Thompson. I didn't get any new business startup paperwork this month.
Did the bistro open? I think they did. Across from St. Joe's.
Yeah, I think they did. What I go by is the paperwork that we get in our mailbox.
Yeah, I was just looking at the previous minutes that I missed, but I didn't see that one mentioned in there, but.
No, I never got paperwork. We had 4 businesses last month and 4 the previous month. And it wasn't, one of them was not the bistro.
Didn't Jill come in for her trade name months and months ago, like long before they ever opened? I seem to remember it being on there. Regardless, Santos, they are open.
Yeah. I will go down there and try that establishment shortly.
I knew we could count on you for that one.
Thank you. That's what I'm here to tell you. That's all I'm here to.
Okay, Joanne, trying to say something?
Yes, it must be my phone. Yes, where is this bistro?
Across from St. Joseph's.
Oh, that one there. Okay, I wasn't sure if there was a different one or so. I haven't seen it open. So somebody's saying that it is open or it has been open.
They had a soft opening. I know Brian LaFredo went.
I've been. The
I'll
food is
check it out.
food is good, and it seems to be. I live on Main Street. It seems to be pretty steady, even busy. So she's got her temporary liquor license.
Oh, really?
Great.
So
Good.
yeah.
Wonderful.
I think she made the right choice being open for dinners there. I think part of and I don't know what was there before the last little breakfast and lunch place, which I thought was really good.
That's good.
But yeah, without like, a whole bunch of businesses letting out at lunch, I think a place that does only breakfast and lunch that has no street visibility is a tough sell. But,
Yes.
people will go out to dinner in a neighborhood that they can walk, I think that the dinner thing was definitely the right way to go.
Yep.
And she's trying to position herself as a middle ground in pricing. So we have the LBs and the Milltown, and we have Anya. She's trying to get in the middle there. So, the people who would go off to Grill 37, they have something in that price range.
Good.
What are the hours? Is it just lunch or are they open just at dinner time? Anybody know?
Well, yeah, I don't know the hours.
I
It looks
think
like
there are
she's open
lunches
both.
and dinners. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
I haven't seen any activity
I
there in the summer.
believe, yes, lunch and dinner. I don't know if that is the weekend, and if everything works out, she'll start open breakfast. She also plans to look into the upper floors. There's 2 floors above that she might be able to add on in the future. She's thinking of a wine bar and a pizza place for the upstairs floors if she's successful.
Nice.
Good for her, good for Bob Fournier too, to rent out the space. Anything else on businesses in town?
I just looked up her webpage online and they're open for New Year's Eve and place here Christmas orders. It looks like an interesting forward-thinking plan here.
Yeah, I'll have to try it. We can report back next month. See, citizens' comments pertaining to agenda items. We don't see any unfamiliar, well, Ken and Renee is still not official, but any comments, Ken?
No, other than, the Board of Selectmen's working on the budget, trying to get through that and see where we can go with it. I mean, that seems to be the biggest issue. I mean, the only other thing was there was some discussion at the Board of Selectmen's meeting last night about the dissolution of the Brandy Committee. And I made that clear that that's a subcommittee of EDC and they're in control of that, not the Board of Selectmen. So that worked out that way. So that's about where we are at the moment. And of course, we don't have a finance director at this time either. So
she is gone now.
yeah, Orla's gone, and hopefully we'll have an intermediate one starting in a day or two. And the only other thing, the board, the tribe board is looking at consolidating the finance director, one finance director for the school and the town, and work it that way. I don't know how that'll go one way or the other. I did express my concerns about the fact that we'd be losing 40+ hours by having only one finance director. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. There's a lot of moving parts going on, especially with the trying to build a budget.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't have any old business on the agenda because everything got shuffled. The only new business, as far as an EDC alternate, I did ask Renee to remove Heather O'Rourke.
Which I didn't yet.
And that's okay, but just so people know, and Tara and I did talk to Renee about coming on as the alternate if she wanted to. Especially since we closed out the branding subcommittee.
Really, Renee, it's whether you want to or not.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine. I think, it was just, we were covering the same things in both meetings. So, and it's the same people for the most part on both committees. So it became, like, I think somebody mentioned if it was the full board and we had all these different members participating, like initially, that would have been one thing, but it's down to the same handful of people, so.
And you said, Renee, was it you that said I have to bring it to the first selectman or the Board of Selectmen?
You just have to make the recommendation to Amy to, put it forth to the board.
Okay. So we can't go through Ken, huh? Who's here?
No, they have to fill out an application,
Oh, okay.
to do that. I did that for, I forget the Mizrac. Because I
Yeah,
was
I
next
just
to,
did it for Heather O'Rourke too, and I forgot. Because
Yeah,
we had
and-
the form on
and we
our,
did-
I
We
do
did-
believe they have our information though, after 34 years working for the town. If I have to fill out a freaking volunteer application, that's crazy.
yeah,
my recommendation is go through the motions.
Yeah,
Take that
Okay.
up with the town clerk, Renee. They'll get something done.
it's not the town clerk that deals with it, Charlie. We have no power in the town clerk's office, no power.
well, we have a
I'll
dark
email
wood right
Amy
now.
and let her know and see what she wants me to do.
Yeah, and if, if I have to do something or whatever, as long as you're okay coming on. I really didn't have Tira's sentiment that whether you wanted to or not, but we appreciate you. Okay, so that would fill our alternate slot and we'd have a full board again. Okay, down to progress reports. The first one is branding subcommittee, so we've covered that. Second one is budget. And I missed the meeting that Tira attended last Monday.
Yeah, that's okay. So happy to give the brief update. It was a very simple budget request this time. Of course, this at the last meeting, everybody voted on making the recommendation to donate up to $10,000 to the Eastern Connecticut Land Bank. So that was included. We did not discuss the rest of the budget items as a group at the last meeting, but Yacino and I, right before the budget a few days before the budget presentation, did get together because there's a new platform to use in submitting. And what we decided was, in addition to the 10, to ask for an additional 15, with the stated purpose of having those funds available to do things like have a pool of grant match funding for things that would be relevant coming out of this commission. Because our other projects right now that we have been contributing to, designating in the minutes have been things like the 11th Village and Trainwreck Park. Both of those have yet to expend the funds from last year, although we'll talk about the 11th Village shortly. Or in the case of Trainwreck Park, they've now moved on to another set of grants, one of which was announced formally today. Again, we'll get to that under that progress report item. But that's been a consistent problem, is not having a designated pool from which we can draw. And if we have up to $15,000, maybe that'll be 3 or 4 of the smaller grassroots level grants, but you can get to that mid-level grant as well in a 1-to-1 match. Put in 15 to get an additional 15 kind of thing. Now you can start to do some more, some more substantive lasting pieces if you get the opportunity. So that's what was proposed.
Okay. Yeah, the next item is grant applications and updates. And then I saw the one about the Trainwreck Park.
Yeah, just today, CT Deep formally announced their awards. We have a good news, bad news, good news situation. The good news is we got an award, as we expected we would, from CT Deep for the Trainwreck Park master plan. The slightly disappointing news is that of our full request, they only gave us 16,000. And I talked to folks from Deep and who were on the reviewing committee, and they just had so many applications. They were really trying to spread it out. They did make some large awards, including to Coventry. So congratulations to Leslie's new employer. They got a nice chunk of change. The good news that follows the mildly disappointing news is that CT Deep is advancing the remainder of our application to OPM to consider for funding essentially under their alternative transportation projects priority. So where that would go, I don't know. So we still have the opportunity to receive the larger chunk of change. So what that means in terms of what we're going to be able to do with the funds available to us, the 16 grand will be the upfront pre-development costs. So that's any acquisition and legal costs associated with that 1 acre parcel, which is a part of the Butler's property where the historic turntable is, and the actual completed site work and design. Daniel Blanchette, who did all the concept drawings at Charlie's behest, almost 3 years ago now, said he thought he could bring that in for 8. So we don't have to go to bid on that because it comes under the threshold. So that's the 16. And then we have the 155 and change from the ARPA that was committed, by our Board of Selectmen. And that will cover, roughly, that will cover the recreation of the turntable, which we know has to be the next phase now anyway, because we got the turntable stones, the traffic calming on the local road, and the picnic pavilion. The other pieces, there was just no way to make that work. So the parking area is going to have to wait. The welcome kiosk is going to have to wait, but hopefully we'll get that from OPM. Fingers crossed on that. But
Yep.
again, I don't know what the notification is on that. Other grant updates, we still do not have notification on the Connecticut Communities Challenge grant, which is the one that was the really big, trying to leverage another $1 million from DECD for the big placemaking effort throughout North Grosvenor-Dale. I have no idea what to expect there. The request is out there. And I think that they were looking at a late March, early April notification period. You can probably tack on a month before. Just my experience with the big state grants is they're always running at least a month behind. So hopefully we'll know by end of April, I would say, on that one. Levency and I are going to submit a smaller grant to the AARP Creative Placemaking program. I forget what they actually call it, to try to not just repair the basketball court in Riverside Park, but upgrade it so that it includes pickleball lines. Pickleball, for those of you who don't know, is a ridiculously huge growth sport across the country now, particularly for senior citizens. It's really quite amazing. In fact, just this morning, I heard a report on NPR about it. And what else do I have out there? I feel like I'm forgetting something. I know I'm forgetting something and I don't know what it is. I had kind of said I was going to take a little break from writing more grants because I'm going to be managing somewhere around $4 million in grants for the next couple of years, but they keep dropping in my lap. Some DPW ones that aren't necessarily relevant to this commission exactly. And yeah, that's my grant update for now.
Thank you. Yeah, the next item is the business marketing strategy. And we were going to review essentially the first page, which would be kind of the welcome and the survey questions.
Yeah, so those are the ones that I developed, right? Right.
Yeah.
So Terry, you responded, right? You gave me some comments back like a couple months ago, right?
I did, and I think Yasino did too.
Okay, very
Yeah,
good.
I actually shortened it and I sent it out to everybody and we talked about it last month.
Okay, great.
Because what we want, Bry, I mean, using what you had,
Yep,
but what we want is something that's short enough and concise enough so that people actually will pay attention to it.
sure.
Um,
Yeah, I agree. So I think I see Dan quite a bit at Milltown. Is it okay if I take Brian, whatever you sent me? I'm sorry, I'm very behind on my emails.
I understand.
I'm gonna yeah, I'm gonna take that draft and just kind of cursory review it with Dan and say, hey, what's your thoughts on this? Just kind of read through it, because I think the ultimate goal here is to then get Dan, Anya, Ken, and a few other names that I know we talked about before. I don't have them all in front of me right now, into a
Yeah.
room and kind of have an open forum discussion about what we can do to just make things better. I guess I'll keep it kind of at 30,000 feet, right?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the way that one is. Like I said, it's shorter, it's more concise.
Yep.
I was going to show it to Chris Nelson. We were supposed to meet for lunch and we didn't, and we were going to meet at Milltown. It just didn't happen because everybody's busy.
Yeah, sure. That
So,
sounds
yeah,
good.
there's nothing wrong with showing it to him, Bry.
Yep.
After
Okay.
you take a look at it.
Sure. Yeah, because I've been in his ear about this anyway, and he's kind of anticipating this conversation in this document. So
Kira's got it up now, so it's a
yeah, no, I think
two-thirds of a page.
I think this looks much more organized, very straightforward. I like it.
It is based on what you sent, but I kind of made it more, hopefully more workable.
Yep. Yeah. Let's just scroll down. So survey part 2. Yep. It was on the second page.
The second page where you were proposing more of a brochure, and we decided to tackle the first page first.
Yep. Okay. All right. So we can work on this.
Yeah, we can work on the second page next month.
Sure. Okay. Okay. I definitely had some specific stuff for the second page that I just need to find time to kind of steer the group on. But I know this has been lingering for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months now. I need to get it off a dime and help out and get this brought to light here. So yeah, let me just I'll find your email, Bri. I will print it. I will review it with Dan, and then I'll try to get some more updates out there.
Yeah, I sent it out yesterday, so you should have it.
Oh, okay, very good. I'll find
So
it.
you know what day to look for if you have a lot of email.
I'm gonna find it right now.
And yeah, and of course, if you don't have it, I can send it again. It's not a problem.
So
Got it.
now, are we still talking about two parallel things here? One, a general survey, and one more of a focus group?
I think this general survey was going to be with the focus group.
Yeah, I viewed them at the same time. I never had intentions of doing them like two different things.
Okay, all right.
I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm just saying in my mind, I had it just being one item.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to do it. The second part of this would be more of a, PR, more of a brochure or an update where Kira was always referring to the Santos one page.
Yeah.
I think that's what your second page was aimed at.
I feel like, all right, so it's like topic branding and marketing. Topic 2 is relationship with other Thompson organizations. And based upon the data that's collected now in part 1 and part 2, we then develop the second page of this document and expand on what we're trying to do, right? So
yeah, we'll base it on what people actually want to see.
Yeah, because I would say in partnership with so-and-so, we've developed these things, right? So that's kind of where I was going with all this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know about everybody else agreeing with that concept. Everybody's quiet, so it must be good.
That's okay. I will try to, I think it's a little hard to see because I have not provided enough to make it a full picture here. And I will work on that.
Well, everybody did get this in their email yesterday.
Yep, I did find it.
Your original and Kira's notes and this one that I had done. Everybody got all three
Okay.
to look
Can
at
you-
and compare.
Can you send me the Word file or whatever
Yes.
structure this is in?
I didn't, I have the word. I didn't send it because I didn't know if everyone would be able to read it.
Yep.
So yes, I can do that.
Yeah, please do that. I'll actually be on a plane next Wednesday, so I can work on this.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully I'll remember to send that to you tonight, Brian. If not, just shoot me an email and I'll reply with it.
Either way, Brian, I can just convert it to Word anyway, so I think I'm,
Well, I have it, so it certainly doesn't hurt. I just forget things.
okay, I'm gonna
I
reply.
have a lot
to
of you. I have a few thousand emails backed up too.
Okay, here, I'm shooting you an email right now, just a reminder.
Okay. Then I'll do that tonight when we're done.
Thanks.
So once you guys have this in a form that you are happy with, I guess I just need you to let me know when to create the Survey Monkey so that it can be distributed.
Sure. Yep, sounds good.
Okay. That sounds good. All right, so we know where we're going with that until next month. The next item is website notes, and the only one that I had was to remove Heather O'Rourke, and hopefully we'll be replacing her name with Renee anyway, so that'll be done. Next up is the 11th Village update. Now we did, I've been talking about it in TBA. Again, Dan had missed the last meeting because he was away, so I brought it up with them. And then we had a meeting, Tira and me and Brian Levensey and Ann Miller and Mike Joyce. We are going to be able to move the Dave Eddy funds over to the school as needed. Mike Joyce is going to get a crew. The first thing they're going to tackle is the facade on one. Another one needs painting, and Ann Miller thinks that T can get a group and paint the barn one, barn red. So we'll get going with those, and hopefully we will have enough money. Those should be done by May. And hopefully we have enough money for up to 2 more sheds, which we hope would be completed by Community Day.
Yeah, Mike Joyce emailed me a couple times over the last couple days, and it looks like he was able to get some estimates, I think from Hancock Forest Products or Hancock Lumber or whatever they're called, et cetera. So we certainly should have enough based on that for 2 new sheds, 2 new finished sheds plus finishing the 2 that we have. There may be a little wiggle room in there. But we'll plan on the minimum, and if we have more, then we will. And the exciting part for me, of course, is that we've also started to talk about that. The programming. I'm actually looking through my emails trying to find the little bullet point sheet that I sent out. So keep talking about it, Brian.
Well, we talked about possible uses if we don't get enough commercial use right now. Talking about some favored uses like dealing used books, clothing consignment, bike rentals, farmers market products, staffed by various people from Teague, the school, tie it in with school programs, future business people, whatever. We're going, I also brought up with the TBA, and I talked to Dan too. I filled Dan in on what happened at last week's TBA meeting. We're going to look for some TBA businesses to mentor some of the people who want to do business out of those sheds, especially if they're high schoolers and people who don't have experience, and take it off of the planner's plate. So yeah, I mean, it was a good discussion. We actually have some things and some goals in place. So it'd be nice to have 4 sheds by Community Day.
Yeah,
The repairs should be done by Maker Faire in May, including repairing the door that's attached wrong, or I know that it always looks like it's open. Go ahead, Tara, I'm sorry.
no, I was just saying, I'm still looking for that email with the bullet points, because I think that it is possible that folks will want to take some pieces of that. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll and talk at the same time, which is, there we go. I think I found it. I found it. Okay, so I'll share that too. Good. Sharing. All right, can you guys see that? Let me minimize this. Okay. So this is the full recap, and there might be some pieces in here that folks want to take. So, so I sent the final report from the Yukon students showing the CAD renderings. That was mostly for Mike Joyce, so that he could have his kids do more detailed drawings. The Yukon students did provide some to Dave Eddy. I don't think they actually ever sent them to me. So what we do have their final report that at least has the sort of the planar renderings. Here we go. Mike is going to assemble materials quotes by the end of this week, which he has more or less done. We're just trying to figure out exactly how that check should be made out, and then I'm going to make a transfer of funds so he can pick those materials up. Here we go. Anne is going to schedule the volunteer workday to stain or paint the original shed, meaning the one with the peaked roof that made its debut with the llamas or with the alpacas, 2 years ago in Community Day. And that target is end of March, beginning of April. Yeah, so Brian covered the schedule for the 2 existing sheds to be ready for Maker Faire, so they will be available for vendor rentals. And then that programming stuff, so you can see that here. And if anybody wants me to send this to them, I certainly will. But essentially, while it's developing its identity as a permanent feature where people are renting it seasonally as we have envisioned, the 2 groups that we think will get the most benefit out of it are certain members of the T clientele, and then the business tract kids from the high school. Melinda was able to stop in on part of that meeting. She's going to organize a second meeting with her and me and Nate, who is the principal of the high school, and Trish, who is the business stream kids advisory staff member, to see how we can fit it all together. And then, yep, there we go. So if anybody does want that, there was still just a little more detail in there. Yeah. It's nice to have that with a real, I think, time frame to move forward.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's nice to have something concrete. After, waiting for a year and a half to get more work done on them. Okay, so that's where we are with that. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Dan Bennett, I'd be particularly interested in hearing more of the TBA perspective there. I tried to attend the last meeting, but I had 3 meetings that night, so I could only be there for 10 minutes before I had to scoot out the door. In terms of how you feel about bringing your membership in there in that mentoring role.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be 100% honest with you. I've been completely out of both of these meetings for the last 2 months with my surgery and my vacation. So I need to get back up to speed, and then next month I'll be able to let you know.
Okie dokie.
I did, like I said, I did fill Dan in on what we talked about, and we'll be talking again before the next meeting too. And then bring it up, as Dan said, with at the next meeting. So, okay. Next item is, I don't know if you have any updates on the NIPS program and the sculptures.
Yeah, Sarah and beloved husband and I did get back to work on them. So we have another one of the bodies finished. She might be coming back here this weekend. We're probably going to do every other weekend or so until we have the 8 bodies made. It generates a lot of styrofoam waste, so I can't really do them every week. I can't fit the styrofoam trash all in our bin for pickup. So every 2 weeks works a little better for that.
Oh my
Yeah, it makes a colossal mess in the house. But just really pleased to have that back underway. Before she left, or right after she left, Orla forwarded me the spreadsheet with what we have left in our various grant and crowdfund sources, including that one. So I know what's remaining in the budget. But until it's nice weather, we can't, really clean any more of those nips. That's the disgusting thing that needs to happen outside. So, but we will do more, and we've still got plenty of them. Yeah, and once we've got all the bodies carved, I'm going to feel much better after we have the first one assembled with all the components. I know in my head the order of action, but it's a new art medium for me, working in concrete and foam.
Yeah.
So the first one is going to be a very delicate operation, I think, to make sure that we get it right, because I can't buy any more of that foam. That I'm not spending another dime on pressed foam blocks.
Sounds good. We still have on the agenda the solar project progress, in case Brian
there
F. has any.
There's actually very good progress. T, can you allow me to share my screen?
I certainly can, sir. Yep, you should be all set now.
I'll share this one here. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Can
Okay,
you zoom
so
it? Can you zoom that a little bit just to make it a little teensy bit bigger? Much better.
all right, so if you remember, the solar project actually was going to be over here behind the track. But after further review with several people, Janet, myself, John Rice, and a few others, we met out there and we elected now to move it over here. It's just the path of least resistance with some wetlands and topography. So Connecticut Green Banks met us out there, and we have now put it here. Now, actually, it just so happens it's working out much better that we put it here. And the timing is actually very good for us to submit our application, which I am actually meeting with them tomorrow to final review this and submit our application for a virtual net metering application. It is a larger system now than where it was previously. We're hoping that we can get 1.149 megs kilowatts system, just over a meg, which is very good. The problem with that is, which we're researching now, is we're not sure that the existing electrical infrastructure out on the street can handle that type of wattage. So we're doing that application now to see. I think it's capable of handling 1.2 megs, but we'll have to see about that. So anyway, we're submitting this for an application submitted in March to move the project forward. There's several more steps after that, but this is a huge step forward in getting this applied for into the state of Connecticut and getting it approved. So very good progress here, and hopefully that is all resolved tomorrow and we can move forward with the application. So that's my update on the solar project.
Cool.
So it's looking very good.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, and I was asked to put the high school track. We brought up high school track. I didn't have it on the agenda last.
I have a
Yep, so-
question about that, though.
Which one? The solar project, Charlie?
Yes, how much distance is it to go over to where the high voltage stuff is east of there,
It's
up
down
on the hill?
It's down the street. What is that street where Teague is?
Thatcher.
I
That's
tried
the
to
road.
get your attention before you lost the screen because
Yeah.
it's like your original site was closer to the high tension line.
Yes
And
and
the
no.
one, but it's not that far away.
The original site was going to go to the school meter.
Well, but if you went from the site where the solar array is shown and went straight up the hill towards the landfill, towards the transfer station, you're gonna run right into the high voltage line that goes through Thompson there.
All right, let's share my screen again.
Yes, please. And then spread out so you can see, do any of the maps, but then spread out so you can see the whole hillside.
Yeah, I gotta find that email again now. Hold on a second.
There is a high voltage line there. While he's doing that, I have one other observation about solar. It appears that because of the zoning revisions, people are going to be putting in requests for solar panels and solar generators and things. One that is visible off of Aquatic Road, another one Aquatic Reservoir. And I wanted to ask Brian, have you seen the new design that it's like a 10-foot tall sunflower? Okay, spread that picture out. We want to see up above it, up, straight up, straight up, straight up. Oh, you don't even, can you activate the live link to that? Because straight up off the top of that, there's a high voltage there. You can see it. It's
Yeah.
straight up. Yeah, right there. That's high
Yeah.
voltage.
Yeah, I realize that, Charlie. So we're down here. We're gonna go to the power pole here.
Yeah, but you don't know if it'll handle the juice.
Yeah, well, I know that the street can handle 1 meg. I don't know if it can handle over 1 meg is the problem.
Well, I was just seeing
See?
an option.
So
I know that the other line is high voltage.
we're looking at that right now. Yeah, so you have the high voltage lines right here.
All right, keep that on the back burner when you look at the thing tomorrow.
Yep, will do, Charlie.
So,
Will do. All right.
He's got to look at the other issues too, Charlie, like if he talking about wetlands and stuff.
Yeah, the wetlands, I think, is all resolved since we moved it. So that's all set.
Right, but if you, yeah, being up, like Charlie said, you were closer to the high
Yeah.
voltage lines in that area, but you had other problems.
Yep.
yeah, but from the new site to
Yeah,
the high voltage line in a straight line, you're out of the wetlands. The wetlands are where the other site was originally. I've
right.
seen them.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll review it tomorrow, Charlie. Keep that in the back of my mind for sure. Thank you, sir. So as far as the track goes, we are full steam ahead. It's well into design. I am actually meeting again tomorrow with Deb Spinelli to look at the final layout of the track and actually look at different finishes of the rubber surface and come up with the finalized data for tie and bond to complete the design. So that is well underway. And I'm actually hoping that over the next like 2 months, we actually have biddable documents ready to go for a shovel-ready project.
Brian, do you know anything about, that's another piece where some money had been set aside out of ARPA. And in the absence of a finance director right now, I am authorized, an authorized user on the reporting platform. I finally got that set up with Orla last week. Now, the only expenses that I'm aware of that have been spent out of the ARPA are the ambulance, but given the nature of what was approved for the track, I assume that there's some coming down the pike for that too. Do you know anything about that piece?
I have no knowledge of where these funding sources live and how they're being utilized.
Okay, so I'll just have to ask Amy because I may as well submit them both at the same time if they've been spent. I have to say this is this is a task that I took on because it seemed the most logical thing at the time, but it's given me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. So,
Yeah, I don't know some of these funding sources. I'm not gonna say one way or the other. I just will say that every time someone talks about a certain project, the ARPA acronym comes up. So it's like, I feel like it's an unending supply of funding, which is not the case, right? But anyway, I'll bring up some other comments later. I'll let you get through the minutes, Brian. I have some more projects I can tell you about.
Okay. All right, next up, we put on the agenda bicycling and other events. And Dan, this is something, Charlie was talking about it before the meeting, but whenever we have these events coming in, we used to make sure that the business owners were aware in case there was something that they could tie into, whether they had a restaurant or something to offer specials. So that's why it's important. Another thing that we can collaborate on with this knowledge.
What are these events?
Yeah, I'll bring you into the loop on this. We don't have a final report yet, but I was approached by Narragansett Bay Wheelman. They want to have an event in Thompson in April. And April 23rd is Trails Day, and Rails Trails Conservancy has identified the link through Thompson as part of the core rail trail route in New England. So we're coordinating and we'll go into their calendar as an event, which I believe will start at Putnam Cyclery, come over either Church or Sabin and West Thompson Road, and include the bridge in West Thompson Dam. The day before that event, there'll be a ribbon cutting at that bridge in West Thompson Dam. And so we're scheduling immediately right after to come through. There could be 50 to 100 bicycle riders, and they'll be coming through that area and then over to Route 12 and then over to Plum Road and up the airline trail for some distance. I don't know how far, but that is the core route. And we're going to be doing that part of it. So far, I don't have official response from Putnam, but I do have official response from the New England Mountain Bike Association, a guy named Jeff Doyle. And he is going to work with us on that. And he's also going to work with us and the Army Corps to design a new mountain bike path, which would be south of West Thompson Road and east of Church Street, where that little peninsula is, where it's just, you drive by and there's just rocks up there. They never put a path in. But when we talked about the ribbon cutting at our Trails Committee meeting, I asked him, would it be okay? And he says, yeah, we just don't know who to design it. So the guys from the Mountain Bike Club, which just did a new complete mountain bike park in Pomfret area off of the airline trail, they're all excited about this. What that does for Dan and his group is it brings more bike riders into Thompson. And then, if you make pizza and beer, whew, bike riders love that. I know. So that's on the 23rd. And we're looking to have more over the summer. We're also
April
looking at
23rd, right?
more mapping and routes. But I don't have a final report, but I will by our next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, and more stuff comes up. Dan, you know, we've been talking about Rymacon when that comes into the area, and, you know, over time, there's a lot of events coming in, and we are branding ourselves as outdoor friendly. And it's a good opportunity for our businesses.
Yeah. And the
Possible.
next event is the last weekend in March, and it's a 100-kilometer bike ride that starts and ends at the Thompson Speedway.
Charlie, have you talked to Richard? Is that for sure set?
Yeah, it's for sure set. I haven't talked to him, but the guy that approached me about the ride through Thompson in April is part of that same board.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I've been talking with John Rowland about these things. Richard's busy, and so, okay, John's the go-to point for Thompson. I believe he's also the current president of Narragansett Bay Wheelmen, and he'd really like to help us along as well. So they like the way that we treated them with their event in March and November. Still don't know about August. I got a Richard for that.
Okay, well,
So
we'll be keeping it on the agenda, Charlie, so.
Good. That's progress. And Daniel, you and I will be following up on that too, so you can reach out to your restaurants.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. Yeah, the final progress report is Eastern Connecticut Land Bank, and as we said, we did budget the money like we talked about last month. We're still set to host them on May 3rd at 9:30 at Lord Thompson Manor. We'll do more planning on that as time goes on. Do you have anything to add to that, Tara?
Not particularly. In terms of the Eastern Connecticut Land Bank, and I can't remember if I mentioned this to this group, you know, as we were discussing the money, Putnam did commit 50,000. So 20, I think it broke down 25,000 out of the Putnam Business Association and another 25 out of the town, as I recall. And I'm going with Wayne and Marianne to NECOG. Well, not going, it's a virtual, to NECOG's end of the month meeting to do the pitch to all the NECOG member towns to try to get that, you know, contribution upped. I feel optimistic about it. The commercial realtor thing is related but tangential. That is still on the calendar. So again, as it approaches, I think we want to have a game plan going in, because the EDC, I think, will be your, you know, the featured speakers, the featured guests for that, to really highlight whatever you want to say about Thompson. And, you know, similar to the things we were discussing with the Santos One sheet, I think each member of this commission has an area of some expertise, right? Where they are speaking most comfortably and most authoritatively and can really do a nice presentation for this group. And we're going to be in person, right? So, you know, it's a good chance to make an excellent impression. You know, and including Renee now as a member of this commission, as opposed to separately from branding, not that it was ever that separate to begin with. But like I say, you know, a nice opportunity there. So other than that, nothing. Everybody, of course, knows that we had the $2 million award for the Brownfield cleanup, which is related to the land bank mission. We've been meeting with, me and Wayne and the developer have been meeting fairly frequently, both online and in person, to sort of push this thing forward. There's going to be some kind of actual physical activity this year. We're still waiting for the grant contracts from the state, but essentially once that ink is dry, then away they go. Way to go.
That's on Belden?
No, that's on Rivermill.
Okay.
I do have some thoughts about Belding related to the land bank, of course, but also just in general. You know, that that $2 million Brownfield cleanup grant that we got, that was a public-private partnership. Essentially, Wayne did most of the heavy lifting on that grant, and then I submitted on behalf of the town and will be the, you know, the grant manager of the disbursement of funds. But, you know, the fact that DECD makes that possible, you know, for a town to enter in with a private developer for that kind of thing, opens up possibilities for the Belding site, right? Because if the problem with selling the Belding site is that nobody wants to take on the cleanup responsibility, but there is a mechanism for a developer in a private sale to do the same thing there and, you know, get up to $2 million potentially for that cleanup, that potentially clears an obstacle. And I did mention that to Peter Lang. He called me about something else last week. So he knows that. He does get inquiries over there. I don't know what makes those things not move forward, but I wouldn't be surprised to discover that, you know, balking at the cleanup potential cost would be one of them.
Definitely some sort of partnership that was going to be able to move that forward. But correct me if I'm wrong, a few years ago, there was a study done.
Yeah, there's phase 1, 2, 3 have all been completed there. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that's good about that site.
Yeah. So I guess what my general point is, I think there's enough information to establish that the cleanup is likely not that difficult.
That's
and-
correct.
And that should be like publicly known to people, and there should be some sort of strategy on, you know, getting that information out. I mean, clearly by the landowner, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I feel like there's something that could be done there, and it's right on the fingertips of being able to be completed.
And I remember that the affected part of the property was not a huge part of the property.
Oh,
It wasn't like the whole land area was
Yeah.
contaminated.
Yeah, off the top of my head, it's some mechanical oil, right? That's like sluiced out into a pretty discrete area that could be either capped or scooped out.
Right.
Some heavy metals, but I don't think like tons and tons of heavy metals. It's all stuff that can be, as I understand it, right, as a non-LEP, either relatively easily remediated or capped.
Yep.
That's
glad
what I
that you-
remember when the study was done. Yeah.
I'm glad that Tira's tapped into this because she's right. It does open up an avenue that hasn't been utilized. If we can, as an entity, fill the missing piece and make monies available to potential developers, I think that will move fast, or certainly much faster. And almost all of these toxic spills are in maintenance or boiler room type areas, and where there has been oils that were stored or used improperly. No regs. Tara, with brownfields, can we possibly, as this group, see a complete inventory of brownfield properties within the town? No rush.
I have one.
Good. I would like to see that. And the second thing is, I've noticed that there's a new realtor listing the property on 131, and wondered, is that the same agency? Does Peter Lang now work with them, or is it a whole different agency? I don't recognize the name.
Which property on 131 are you talking about?
It was the Extra Mart headquarters.
Peter's got that.
Okay, it's got a new sign. I just saw that. I didn't recognize the name.
Yeah.
Carol
Go ahead,
Reinowitz.
Joanne.
He works for Carol Reinowitz, CR Premier Property. Is
I
that
saw
what you
that.
saw?
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that what you saw? That's who he works for.
Okay, thank you. Those were my only two real estate questions. I would like to see that list. Thank you, Tara. And
Yeah,
thanks
I'll,
for thinking of this link, this, marriage between private and public.
well, it's a DECD priority. I mean, I can't, claim that I originally thought of it. The state wants to see public-private partnerships. So wherever those occur, it boosts an application. One more thing relative to the River Mill, and this is sort of projecting down the line. Because I'm now in a position where I'm meeting very regularly, virtually or otherwise with Gumpert and his attorney and Wayne and blah, blah, blah. I've also had some reason to start thinking about, that mixed use portion. Now that's when I say well down in his priority list is what I primarily mean. His purpose, his project is to have that residential use activated. But he's always said since the beginning that he's got, that mixed use space set aside, and it's about 36,000 feet of the whole 750,000 according to his plan now. I have put him in touch with some acquaintances of mine who are experienced restaurateurs, one of whom is actually working on building a house here in Thompson. And they're going to get together to talk, I think, in March. But because of that, I've been giving some thought to it. So I had forwarded a webinar link over to John and his lawyer about, the development of public markets. It just so happens I got a link today to a Connecticut Main Street webinar for next Tuesday. Just to get the wheels turning about thinking about how to intentionally try to think about developing that 36,000 square feet. It might not be the important piece to John from a financial standpoint, but in terms of the appeal that it creates for the community, I think it's super important. And I'd like to see that development approached with a certain level of intentionality rather than laissez-faire. Just whoever comes in and has an idea and wants the space. What the reality will be, I don't know. But since that relationship and that rapport has been building, I think it gives me an opportunity that a year and a half ago I really didn't have to really help work on that with him. And I essentially started to do that in small ways.
It might be that he would design a new office for economic development as a showcase for his connection with the town and moving the town forward. Why not? Wouldn't it be a nice spot for a new office? Let's ask him.
I'll take it under advisement.
I think we should.
Okay, we're up. Comments by commission members.
All right, I have two, just to kind of keep everybody up to speed on what's going on, construction wise. So
Okay.
Amy did ask me to write a request for proposal for designer services for the new salt shed and emergency services building located at the Department of Public Works Highway Transportation Department. I did do that. I have some updates that I need to do, and that will hit the street, I would say, over the next month to get that designer on board. And also to let people know that Melinda did ask me to write a similar RFP for designer services for a complete HVAC upgrade in the entire school complex. I guess there's some funding sources for that Lamont has put out, and we're trying to take advantage of that. Those funding sources come out next year, but Melinda wanted to make sure that we have our ducks in a row as fast as possible to take advantage of that. So that has been completed as needs a couple more updates, and it'll be ready as well. So those are a few other things that are going on in town. That's all I got.
So B, that prompted me. I knew there was something. Remember I said there was something I was forgetting in the grant
Yeah.
Yeah.
stream. So I had a meeting, this is how my life has been going lately. I had a meeting last Thursday with a couple of guys from Certex and the school IT staff. Speaking of money coming down the pike later this year, and I think in first half of 2022, there's going to be another federal program rolled out for what they're calling middle mile broadband access.
Okay.
Now, I'm well out of my wheelhouse there, right? Which is why I wanted to meet with these guys from Certex. There's a guy from Thompson who's a VP for them. They're going to put a proposal together. So we are talking about throwing a proposal together for municipal broadband that would be a loop, essentially, that incorporates all of the municipal facilities, the school, the town hall, the library, and the DPW garage, and that would loop around so that over time, residents could actually tie in and pay a reduced municipal rate. So
Yep.
I don't know what ramifications there might be for including space to design conduit that could go into in that DPW facility, but
Yeah.
make a mental note to yourself there that the opportunity may be coming
Yeah. And
to
there's
have fiber.
Yeah, and there's major site work that's going to be engaged with these buildings. So yes, I will keep that in the back of my brain. Yep.
2 points that you just brought up to my thinking. Number one is that fire departments should probably be included on that. Maybe they are, you didn't mention them.
Yeah, so Justin Young kind of is the, emergency service representative, but I will bring that back up once the proposals come in, because there's a lot to talk about.
Okay.
During that time,
The
Charlie.
other thing is that the railroad right of way, the Southbridge line, which comes down along 131, has a fiber optics right of way reserved on it, but not utilized. So we have that already coming into town available for us. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's list. Somebody has the right of way leased for fiber optics. But I don't know who, but they never ran the lines.
Yep.
But that runs right down to Wilsonville, easy, right down to 12 and 131, easy. Grosvenordale, boom, right there. So just.
Yep. For coordination purposes with the buildings. Absolutely. I understand, Charlie. Yep.
Yeah, talking about 929, I just wanted to, it reminded me when I did this music thing with the seniors, in case you think they're not paying attention, they were actually asking about the mill.
Nice.
We've spent money on that and we haven't seen anything.
Hey, Brian, I have to go pick up my son, so I'm going to say goodnight to everybody.
Oh, and yeah, I was going to say, Brian, I did meet your mother-in-law.
Oh, lucky you.
She was singing up a storm. So I talked to her for a little bit.
She had positive things to say about your guitar playing, so thank you for that.
She did. And I spoke highly of you. I lied a little, but
yeah, thank you.
And Heather.
All right, good night, everybody. Thanks.
Night.
Night, Brian. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, as usual, if there's anything that you would like on next month's agenda, over the next few weeks, if I don't capture it already, let me know.
Just one more thing, which is an update just from today. I talked to Renee about this earlier today. So I was on a 4-hour workshop with some other members of the Eastern Region Tourism District this morning. You know, that persistent problem that has been galling everyone for decades about how all of Eastern Connecticut is called Mystic Country.
It
We
hasn't
are
been decades. They just did that recently.
well.
What?
I think it's more than recent, but anyway.
More recently than
So
think.
you
Yeah.
may be pleased to know that the result of this 4-hour workshop is that the Eastern Region Tourism District is about to be broken up into 3 regions within the district, each with a separate name and identity. So one of those will definitely be Mystic Country, which will include Mystic and its surrounds. Another one will be the northern half of the district, and is likely to include 27 towns. So 27 or 26 towns that happen to also fall into the last Green Valley footprint. There might be an outlier or two there. And a name is going to be arrived at later, but it is not going to be Mystic Country where it's not Mystic Country. So
Right.
I personally consider that a victory. You can also very much thank Charlie Tracy from Pomfret, who really took the initiative on leading today's workshop. We had a facilitator, Adams and Knight, who did a really excellent job in helping the members of the district on that working group come to consensus. And we don't have a name yet. That's going to come a little later. But all of that stuff, really, the reason it's getting resolved now is because the state is going to restructure their website. So now is the time. So, you know, the people from the forgotten corner, so to speak, right, are going to see this recognition, and hopefully that will spur some more participation across our part of the region for working on and promoting you know, the tourism that we have, and we have plenty. So I just wanted to report that out.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, anything else, guys, before we adjourn?
I want to apologize for snapping at you earlier. I made more of a deal of it than I needed. You and Tara both.
We figured you probably needed a Snickers, Charlie. We're okay.
I do. Snickers. Hey. Do I have one? We got some M&Ms. All right. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, let's adjourn at 7:47, Heather, if you're good.
I'm all set, Brian.
All right. Thanks a lot,
Night.
guys. Talk to you later.
Have a great night.
Good night, all.
Yep. Bye.
Good night.
Dan, I'll talk to you soon.